Fear is one of the most persistent and deeply rooted emotions that follow us throughout life. From childhood worries to adult anxieties, fear seems to accompany each stage, each shift, each uncertainty. But what if the Buddha, more than 2,600 years ago, had already laid out a pathway to not only face fear but to transform it into clarity, compassion, and peace of mind? In Buddhist wisdom, fear is not seen as an enemy to be fought, but as a messenger, a signal that invites us to look more deeply, to awaken, to understand. Today, many in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond quietly carry fear: fear of illness, fear of loneliness, fear of aging, fear of losing control. But the Dhamma reminds us, what arises can cease. What is seen clearly no longer controls us. In this gentle and reflective voiceover, we will explore how to remove fear from the body, not through force, not through modern science, but through the timeless truths of the Buddha. We will begin by discovering the root of fear, and how mindfulness and awareness can become your unshakable ground. Then we will explore a powerful somatic practice from the Buddhist tradition that can help you release anxiety from your body, not just quiet it in the mind. You'll also hear two real stories, whose simple moments in stillness led to profound insight. And finally, we will offer practical mindfulness tips to reclaim serenity, especially when life feels unstable or uncertain. These teachings are not just for monks or mystics. They are for mothers, caregivers, retirees, and seekers, for anyone longing to sit peacefully in the middle of life's storms. So let us begin this journey with softness, with sincerity, and with a heart that is ready to be free. As the Buddha said, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. Let us begin with the first and most vital insight in today's journey: the Buddhist secret to overcoming fear forever: awareness as your unshakable core. To truly understand why fear feels so permanent, we must first explore how the mind relates to what it perceives as threatening, uncertain, or unknown. Fear is not just a fleeting emotion. For many, it becomes a habitual pattern, woven so deeply into thoughts, physical reactions, and memories that it begins to feel like part of who we are. But according to the Buddha, fear arises not because of what is happening outside of us, but because of our internal clinging to impermanence, to outcomes we cannot control. Fear persists when we remain unaware of the workings of our own mind. And so, the great secret in Buddhist teaching is not to fight fear, escape it, or suppress it, but to see it clearly. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha teaches that mindfulness, sati, is the direct path to purification and liberation. When fear arises and we are unaware, it rules us. But when fear arises and we observe it gently with awareness, we create space. That space becomes freedom. Imagine your awareness as a calm, still lake. Fear may be like the wind that disturbs the surface, but the depth of the water remains untouched. The more you rest in awareness, bare, clear knowing, the less the waves of fear can control your actions. The Buddha often compared the mind to a monkey, always jumping, reacting, grasping. But through sustained mindfulness, we begin to calm that monkey, not by force, but by kindness and presence. So, why does fear feel permanent? Because we identify with it. We think, I am afraid, rather than, fear is arising. In truth, fear is a passing visitor, conditioned by causes, memories, beliefs, attachments, aversions. What arises from causes will fade when the causes are removed. This is the law of dependent origination, one of the core principles in Buddhism. When we bring awareness to fear without pushing it away or indulging it, we interrupt the cycle. The feeling may still arise, but it no longer defines or dominates us. Over time, as we cultivate a stable awareness, through meditation, reflection, and observing our daily emotional patterns, we find that fear loses its sharpness. Its voice grows softer. We begin to see fear as it is: energy, sensation, thought, not truth. And in that seeing, in that calm recognition, we return to our natural state of spaciousness and ease. This is what the Buddha called establishing mindfulness in all postures, being awake not just during meditation, but while walking, washing dishes, lying down, or speaking. Life itself becomes the training ground. Fear will still appear, this is part of being human. But it no longer becomes the foundation of your choices. Instead, awareness becomes your home, your unshakable core. You begin to dwell more often in what the Buddha referred to as safety beyond birth and death, a quiet, inner refuge untouched by the storms of the world. In this space, you discover you are not your fear. You are not your history. You are not the fragile identity clinging to certainty. You are awareness itself, open, still, and deeply free. This shift does not happen overnight, but every moment of mindfulness brings you closer. One breath at a time. One pause. One noticing. So if you felt fear linger like a shadow in your life, know this, it is not permanent. It is not who you are. Through the gentle and consistent practice of awareness, as taught by the Buddha, you will begin to see fear not as a wall, but as a doorway, one that leads not into darkness, but into light. Now let us move into the second part of our journey, a somatic practice to release anxiety from your body, not just your mind. In many Buddhist teachings, especially those related to mindfulness of the body, Kayanupassana, we are reminded that suffering is not just a matter of thoughts, but something that is held deeply in the body. Anxiety, fear, and emotional pain don't only exist in the stories we tell ourselves, they live in our breath, our muscles, our posture, even our heartbeat. That is why we may intellectually understand that something is not worth worrying about, yet still feel our chest tighten, our stomach churn, our shoulders tense. The Buddha taught that the body is not separate from the mind, they are interdependent, and by gently tending to the body, we can also soothe the mind. When anxiety arises, many of us try to think our way out of it. But the body holds a more honest memory. It speaks through sensation. So today, I invite you into a somatic practice, a simple, gentle awareness-based method that aligns with Buddhist mindfulness training. Begin by sitting or lying down in a quiet space. Bring your attention to your breath, not to control it, but to notice it. Feel the in-breath enter through your nose, travel down the throat, into the lungs. Then feel the out-breath, long and slow. Rest your awareness in the movement of the breath like a leaf floating on a calm stream. As you breathe, shift your attention slowly to different parts of the body. Starting at the forehead, then the jaw, the shoulders, the chest. Ask each part gently, is there tension here? Do not try to force anything to change. Just notice. Awareness alone is healing. Often, as we observe without judgment, the body softens on its own. The Buddha called this direct knowing, not through theory, but through experience. If you find a place of tightness, like the chest or stomach, breathe directly into that space. Imagine the breath as warm light, entering the tension, surrounding it with kindness. On the out-breath, imagine that tension being released, like mist dissolving into open air. This is not imagination for distraction, it is a conscious application of mindful awareness. Many monks and lay practitioners have used this form of body-scanning meditation for centuries, as taught in traditional Theravada and Mahayana schools. The key is patience and gentleness. We are not trying to fix the body, but to reconnect with it. To treat it not as an enemy carrying stress, but as a wise companion. You may even place a gentle hand on the area where you feel the most anxiety, offering it warmth, as if consoling a dear friend. In Buddhist practice, this is called metta, loving kindness, not only toward others, but toward ourselves. With each breath, we practice non-resistance. We acknowledge, this fear is here. This tightness is here. And I am here with it. There is no need to push it away. And paradoxically, it is this welcoming attitude that allows the fear to loosen its grip. Over time, with consistency, this somatic practice becomes a bridge, a way to bring the teachings from the cushion into your lived, physical experience. You begin to notice sooner when tension arises. You respond more skillfully. You feel more grounded. And most importantly, you remember, your body is not the enemy. It is the home through which awareness moves. Just as the Buddha emphasized mindfulness of breathing as a path to awakening, this practice invites you back into presence, into stillness. With each breath, you are not escaping your fear, you are meeting it, softening it, and allowing it to pass through. There is no rush, no achievement, just the quiet, steady unfolding of peace. Let this be your way forward, breath by breath, body by body, moment by moment, into the gentle release of anxiety and the return to inner calm. Here are two personal stories that beautifully reflect how fear can soften through simple awareness. The first story is about Jackie, a retired school librarian from North Carolina in her late 60s. After her husband passed away and her children moved out, Jackie began experiencing overwhelming waves of fear, mostly at night. It wasn't fear of something specific, she said. It was just this tightness in my chest, a kind of floating dread. She tried reading spiritual books, meditating, even praying, but nothing seemed to quiet the unease. One late afternoon, she sat on her old wooden porch swing as the sun was setting. The house was silent. As she gently rocked back and forth, watching the light fade across the trees, something shifted. "I just stopped trying to fix it," she explained. I said out loud, "Okay, fear, you can sit beside me if you want." And in that moment, she said it was as if the fear had nothing to push against anymore. I felt space open up in my chest. Not because the fear was gone, but because I was no longer clinging to the idea that it had to leave. That small moment, swinging in silence, watching the breath, saying yes to the moment as it was, became a turning point. From that day forward, she made her swing time a daily ritual. It became her temple, her cushion, her teaching. And slowly, without trying, the fear softened. She didn't fight it. She welcomed it. And in doing so, she reclaimed her peace. The second story comes from Max, a 72-year-old Vietnam veteran from Oregon, who had spent most of his adult life struggling with anxiety masked as restlessness. "I always had to be doing something," Max said. TV, radio, fixing things, planning. Anything but silence. After a friend introduced him to a Buddhist podcast, Max became curious about meditation. But he couldn't sit still without growing irritated or bored. One day, exhausted and fed up, he sat in his recliner, turned everything off, and just stared out the window. "I was too tired to try," he said. "So I just sat there and breathed. Nothing fancy." For the first few minutes, his mind raced. But then, something remarkable happened. "I noticed a hawk gliding outside," Max shared. "And suddenly I realized, I'm breathing, the bird is flying, the world is turning, and I don't have to manage any of it." That simple realization, born not from effort, but from stillness, moved him to tears. "It hit me like a wave, peace doesn't come from doing more. It comes from letting go." Since then, Max made it a daily practice to sit in his recliner for 10 quiet minutes, no agenda, no pressure, just breath, stillness, and watching. He says it's the most honest part of his day. Both Jackie and Max found what the Buddha taught, that the door to freedom is not in escaping fear, but in meeting it gently. Their experiences reveal that transformation does not require exotic practices or distant travels. It requires presence. It requires the courage to sit with what is. And most of all, it requires trust, that peace is not something we must earn, but something we remember, one breath at a time, in the heart of ordinary life. To gently ground everything we've explored so far, let's now turn to some practical mindfulness tips to reclaim serenity, even when life feels wobbly. Whether you're facing emotional uncertainty, physical aging, or just the weight of modern living, these small, grounded practices can return you to your center, again and again. The Buddha never encouraged us to run away from the world, but rather to meet it with steady presence and a heart trained in calm observation. The first practice is called pause and breathe into the moment. So often, fear hijacks our body before the mind has a chance to respond. In these moments, simply pause. Don't rush to fix, explain, or escape. Feel your feet touching the ground. Soften your shoulders. Place one palm over your heart and take 3 slow, deliberate breaths. Breathe in through the nose, exhale slowly through the mouth. This interrupts the reactive cycle and signals your nervous system that you are safe. The second practice is mindful walking, and it is a beautiful way to return to the body when the mind is racing. Choose a quiet place, a hallway, garden, or room. As you walk slowly, bring attention to the sensations in your feet. Say silently with each step, "I have arrived. I am home." This small mantra, taught in the mindfulness tradition, reminds you that peace is not in the future. It is here, now, one step at a time. The third tip is labeling your experience with kindness. When a strong emotion arises, fear, sadness, frustration, softly name it in your mind. This is fear. This is anxiety. This is confusion. Then add, "and that's okay." The Buddha taught that when we bring gentle awareness to what we're feeling, the emotion begins to lose its grip. Naming it creates space around it. You are not the fear. You are the awareness holding it. The fourth practice is a daily anchoring ritual. Begin your day not with your phone or the news, but with a simple act of intention. Light a candle. Pour a warm cup of tea. Sit quietly for 5 minutes and say to yourself, "Today, I choose peace." Let this ritual be your spiritual anchor, a small but sacred act that reminds you to stay rooted in presence no matter what unfolds. Fifth is the 5 senses reset. When anxiety or fear becomes overwhelming, pause and engage your 5 senses. Name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste or imagine tasting. This brings your awareness back to the body and out of the looping mind. It's a practice of grounding, simple but powerful. Sixth is the loving kindness whisper. Before bed or any time you feel emotionally drained, place your hands gently on your chest and whisper quietly, "May I be safe. May I be calm. May I be at peace." This classic Buddhist practice, called metta-bhavana, rewires the inner dialogue from fear to love. Say it softly, with warmth. You can even extend it to others, "May they be safe. May they be calm. May they be at peace." Seventh is, create mindful space in your environment. Your surroundings influence your internal state. Clear a small corner of your room and turn it into a sacred space. A cushion, a flower, a photograph of something that calms you, keep it uncluttered. Let this be your sanctuary for silence, for breathing, for remembering what matters. The 8th practice is gratitude reflection. At the end of each day, reflect on 3 small things you are grateful for. Not grand or perfect things, just moments, the sound of rain, a kind word, the warmth of your blanket. Gratitude is an antidote to fear because it focuses the mind on what is steady and good, even amid life's chaos. Finally, remember the most important teaching: you don't need to do all of this perfectly. Mindfulness is not another pressure. It is a return. A return to now. A return to breath. A return to peace. When life feels unsteady, when the ground beneath you seems to shift, know that within you is a still point, untouched by the storms. As the Buddha said, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. By practicing even one of these tips each day, you strengthen your capacity to meet life with grace. You begin to trust the path. And slowly, you realize serenity isn't something far away. It's something you carry within, quietly, patiently, one breath at a time. As we gently arrive at the end of this reflection, let us take a quiet moment to breathe and truly absorb what has been shared. Fear, though it often feels like a lifelong companion, is not a permanent part of who we are. Through the timeless lens of Buddhist wisdom, we've seen that fear is not to be fought or fled from, but understood and embraced with clarity and compassion. We began by exploring how awareness, simple, steady presence, can become the unshakable ground beneath our feet, even when everything else feels uncertain. We looked into the body, not just the mind, and discovered that fear has a physical home that can be softened and released with somatic attention. Through the stories of Jackie on her porch swing and Max in his recliner, we witnessed how ordinary moments, when met with presence, can lead to extraordinary peace. And we walked through a garden of mindfulness tips, each one a small doorway to serenity, even when life feels unstable. These teachings are not merely ideas, they are living truths, offered in the same spirit the Buddha once taught his disciples under the Bodhi tree, with gentleness, patience, and trust in your own potential to awaken. In this fast-paced, often overwhelming world, it is easy to forget that stillness is always available, that clarity can arise in the middle of chaos, and that you are not broken, you are becoming. No matter your age, your past, or the shape of your struggles, there is peace within you waiting to be remembered. This journey is not about becoming someone new. It is about coming home to the self that has always been quietly watching, gently breathing, patiently waiting. The practice of mindfulness is not a performance. It is a return. A return to now. A return to breath. A return to the simple truth that fear does not own you, it visits, and it passes. As the Buddha said, whatever has the nature to arise, also has the nature to pass away. You are not your fear. You are the awareness that sees it come and go. And in that space of seeing, peace is born, not through control, but through deep, compassionate understanding. May you carry this wisdom forward with tenderness. May you meet yourself with kindness. And may the days ahead be guided not by fear, but by presence, by breath, by inner freedom. Now, if this video touched something in you, I invite you to share your voice in the comments below. Has fear ever shaped your life? What moments helped you soften it, release it, or simply sit with it? Your story may be the one that helps someone else feel less alone. If you found comfort or clarity here, please like the video, subscribe to Mindful Pathway Media, and share it with someone who might need this message. This channel is a space for healing, for spiritual growth, and for remembering what truly matters. Your engagement helps this community grow, and it also helps you reconnect with others walking the same quiet path. So take a breath, reflect, and let us know, what did this video awaken in you?